Briahna, what's on your radar?
Well, Robbie, as you know, the Fourth Amendment to our Constitution is one of our most sacred protections. It safeguards us from intrusions by the state into our homes and our personal spaces. The protection against unreasonable search and seizures is what prevents police from barging into our homes without warning to rifle through our closets and drawers. It keeps federal agents from rounding up citizens and searching our pockets and reading our journals. It was designed in response to intrusions by the British government into the homes of early Americans and is now the foundation of so many principles we hold dear. The requirement for police officers to request a warrant before entry, the expectation of privacy in the home, and the need for probable cause before arrest. But yesterday, a 6-3 conservative majority of the Supreme Court decided that they knew better than the Founding Fathers. Overturning Supreme Court precedent set in a case called Bivens v. 6, the Supreme Court yesterday held that Border Patrol agents who violate the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution have total immunity under the law. Here's what happened. The plaintiff in yesterday's case, Egbert v. Boole, operated a bed and breakfast along the border between Washington state and Canada. When the plaintiff welcomed a guest visiting from Turkey who was lawfully present in the United States, the guest was confronted by a border control agent who refused to leave after the plaintiff owner asked him to. The border control agent then assaulted the bed and breakfast owner and pushed him to the ground. Plaintiff brought an excessive force claim, alleging his Fourth Amendment rights had been violated, and one might have expected him to succeed given prior Supreme Court precedent from the earlier case Bivens. In Bivens, Federal Bureau of Narcotics agents entered that plaintiff's house unlawfully and used constitutionally unreasonable force to arrest him. The court determined that the plaintiff could sue the officer who used excessive force for damages. But the inn owner in yesterday's decision was not so lucky. The court has now held that Border Patrol agents have total immunity from Bivens suits and cannot be sued for constitutional violations. You heard that right. Border Patrol agents have the right to violate your constitutional rights, and you are not allowed to sue them for damages. Some legal experts fear that this holding can plausibly be read to bar all Fourth Amendment lawsuits against federal officers. That means they can barge into your home, assault your spouse or children, destroy your property, and your legal recourse against those agents, is nothing. And if you think that won't affect you because you don't live on the border, think again. Do you live in New York, Chicago, Seattle, Houston, San Diego, Richmond, Charleston, New Orleans, Cleveland, Buffalo, DC? Do you live in the entire state of Florida? Well, 60% of the American population lives within 100 miles of the U.S. border, which means they live within Border Patrol authority. That's 60% of the population that has lost any constitutional protections against warrantless assault or home invasion by armed agents. As lawyer and journalist Christian Farias put it, the border is now a constitution-free zone. While conservative pundits and politicians are working overtime to make voters afraid of trans women and surgical masks, they're taking a sledgehammer to foundational constitutional rights. While some conservatives worry about whether background checks or red flag laws mean the end of American freedom, they are completely ignoring this fundamental assault on our most basic protections against intrusions from the state. And it's worth asking why. Early American politician James Otis, the taxation without representation is tyranny guy, he also famously said that one of the most essential freedoms is that a man's house is his castle. And whilst he is quiet, he is as well guarded as a prince in his castle. Well, Clarence Thomas and 5 other activist conservative justices feel differently. At the same time, conservative lawmakers are pushing for government spending to protect Justice Kavanaugh in his home. Justice Kavanaugh is working overtime to give impunity to lawmakers who would enter your house and assault you and your family. So much for the land of the free. Now, Robbie, I was very concerned to see this holding, but even more concerned to see how disproportionately it seemed that liberals were concerned about this. And I heard nary a peep about this pretty significant constitutional violation of one of the Bills of Rights. on conservative Twitter. I don't know. Did you see something about this? Am I biased in my perception because of my internet bubble that I live in?
No, I mean, what do you want me to say? I completely agree with you. I agree with your analysis. I was beyond disturbed. So were my colleagues at Reason. You know, we're crazy libertarians, so we tend to agree on this kind of stuff. When law enforcement violates people's rights, first, they shouldn't violate people's rights. And then when they do wrongly violate people's rights, they should be held accountable. They should be held structurally accountable and individually accountable, especially in egregious cases. The tremendous protections we are giving law enforcement across the board are bad for society. They are bad for accountability. I try to get conservatives out of the knee-jerk, we got to back the blue kind of mentality. Think, okay, if these were teachers and they were abusing your children or just not teaching your children or getting school canceled for the 80,000th time because of the pandemic or whatever, you would be fed up. You are fed up. If the curriculum, you're fed up about the curriculum, you're at school board meetings, these are employees of the government just like any other, the police are. So why this extraordinary deference to them in all circumstances and this codification of laws that make the people who do genuine harm not accountable to the citizens? They work for us. We don't work for them. They work for us. So and many conservatives do get that. But you're right. I didn't see a lot of outrage about it. I didn't see a lot about that.
And look, it's not just because they're employees of the government. I talked about this in my radar yesterday, that all over the place where it comes to elites getting their way, protection of elite property, which is what a lot of this is about. Over and over again, it's qualified immunity for me, but not for thee, whether it comes down to vaccines, whether it comes down to gun manufacturers. When there's money and lobbying efforts behind it, they can change the laws to make sure that they don't play by the same rules as everybody else. And now we're seeing it at the highest level with some of these federal agents that have the broadest authority to affect your lives. This is something the founding fathers really anticipated. We all learned in grade school about British soldiers quartering in American houses and how disruptive that was.
The Third Amendment, the only one that's mostly not been violated, although there have been a couple cases.
For now, but people are concerned about what this, if this is the camel's nose under the proverbial tent. So we will see, and I look forward to seeing, I hope, some bipartisan solidarity and pushing back against these kinds of overreaches.
Yeah, it is terrifying. It's hypocritical. It's not consistent. And there used to be more. There's still some, but there used to be more enthusiasm for, I think, limiting police power, even on the right, maybe 10 years ago. But it's just now, everything is so tribal, so one side or the other, and scrutiny of the police is just a team blue value. It's one I share, and there should be more of it on the right as well.
Well, we'll have more rising next.